Hey guys, Boss Ramos, and this not Sunday but Friday, Black Friday, the Miami Dolphins will be facing the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium. Game kicks off at 3 p.m. on Prime Video this November 24th. Guys, if you don't have Prime set up or anything like that, make sure you get it situated beforehand because I know a lot of people last year weren't too optimal about Prime becoming this streaming platform that NFL games exist on. And so, with that being said, I mean, it's not too crazy. Dolphins are heavily favored to win this matchup. So, right now, currently, the Dolphins are expected to cover the spread at minus 7 points. My apologies, minus 9.5 points. Over under set at 40.5, and then money line is minus 450 in favor of the Dolphins. For New York Jets, it's at plus 360. And then ESPN's match predictor has it at 81% in favor of the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets at 18.8. Some things we got to talk about in this matchup is the quarterback situation for the New York Jets. Obviously, everyone knows what the quarterback situation is for the Jets in terms of that season outlook. They were going to go into the season with Aaron Rodgers. They did for only 4 downs, and he snapped his Achilles. And some news about that, he announced on Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show that he's expecting to return around his birthday, which is around December 2nd, which is in a week and a half or so, I want to say. Currently, within the next week or two, they're expecting him to return to practice. What does that mean for the Jets? Who knows? I'm expecting them to be after this game 4-7, and I'm pretty sure the road ahead does not look very favorable for them. But they did have a lot of tough matchups early on in the season, and they were able to stay even keeled throughout that point. Following this matchup against the Dolphins, they have the Falcons, Texans, Dolphins again, Commanders, Browns, and Patriots. I see 3 wins there. So at best, they could be 7-10. That's just according to my speculation. Anyways, before we get into anything else, let's talk about injuries. We'll talk about the Dolphins first since they are the away team. Since the last time we talked about a couple injuries listed here, we have Savon Ahmed on injured reserve with a foot injury. Chase Claypool, wide receiver, is questionable for knee injury. Austin Jackson, guard, is questionable. All these guys have undisclosed injuries. I'm about to list off. Austin Jackson, guard, questionable. They're also all questionable. Alec Kingo, fullback. Lester Collin, guard. Teron Armstead, offensive tackle. Robert Jones, guard. And Robert Hunt, offensive tackle. And then the most recent update has Devon Achane, running back, questionable with his knee injury. Raheem Mostert, running back, questionable with ankle knee injury. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, questionable for hand injury. And Durham Smythe, tight end, questionable with an ankle injury. So that's the newest updates for the Miami Dolphins because went over a lot of injuries recently. And then for the New York Jets, I alluded to him earlier, but Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, still on injured reserve, but he's expected to return to practice hopefully by December 2nd. And then we also have Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, questionable with an ankle injury. Sam McGuavin, linebacker, questionable, undisclosed injury. Michael Carter, the second cornerback, he is questionable as well. Hey, Sam McGuavin, long time no see. And then we have some other injuries. Kenny Yabuya, tight end, on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Dwayne Brown, offensive tackle, on injured reserve with a hip injury. Al Woods, defensive tackle, on injured reserve with a, it's undisclosed. Wes Schweitzer, guard, on injured reserve with a calf injury. Connor McGovern, center, on injured reserve with a kneecap injury. And then, that's within the last month. Everyone else has been between August and October. But that's pretty much it in terms of the injuries. Guys, this shouldn't take too much to think about, but this Jets defense is serious. They're probably one of the better defenses in all of the NFL, but they're currently on a 3-game slide. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have won 3 of their last 5, and it's been win, loss, win, loss, win. So, aside from that, this is one of those games that they're going to be like, oh, the Dolphins played a below 500 team. Guess what you're supposed to do against those teams? You're supposed to win. And I understand that's pretty much where all the Dolphins have wins have come from. But aside from that, it is what it is. I mean, what are you gonna do about that when it comes down to the matchmaking? You play the teams and you win against who you're supposed to win against. But with that being said, here are the keys to the Miami Dolphins victory. So before I even get into that, Zach Wilson's supposed to be the starting quarterback for this New York Jets team with Aaron Rodgers being out. He got benched towards the end of the Bills game. It was such a horrendous game by him. They're expecting to start, I believe, Doyle. I don't know too much about Doyle, guys, but the one thing I will tell you is I'm pretty sure the Dolphins don't have too much knowledge on him, and that's something that could be concerning for the Miami Dolphins moving forward, especially trying to scout him for the upcoming matchup. But I think the defense will be able to fluster him a bit, especially with a couple of those injuries to the New York Jets offensive line. And then on top of that, hopefully limit the running game, because if you get Breece Hall start running all over the field, then that could become an issue. So back to how the Miami Dolphins can win. Keys to victory is stopping the run game. I know I say it almost each and every week, but there's a lot of good running backs in the NFL. And if you allow them to get loose and break contain and go down the field and really make a big chunk yardage runs, that is devastating to a defense, because one, the guys get tired. Two, you allow a lot of yardage on the field. And then three, it just keeps the clock ticking. And what you want to do is allow your team to have the most clock warranted towards them on the offensive side of the ball. So stopping the run is crucial, especially with a quarterback who we're not too sure about how he can perform, but by the looks of it, if you're the third string quarterback on the team, you're probably not going to be as good, but Zach Wilson hasn't been great either. Next, offensively, I want the Miami Dolphins to get Jalen Waddle involved early and often. This seems like a early big breakout game for Waddle for this year. He's only surpassed 70 yards about 4 times this year. Been dealing with a lot of nagging injuries, and the last thing you want is this player to get into a funk and think things aren't going his way. I know he's getting a lot of attention, but so is Tyreek Hill, and he's able to break containment and get open and catch the balls, even when his hand's not working. I don't know if you guys saw Hard Knocks, but that was absolutely sick. I'll talk about that after the keys to victory. So stopping the run defensively, getting the ball to Jalen Waddle offensively. Last week I mentioned that they need to protect Tua better, but Tua's doing a really good job at protecting himself. He's getting the ball out before the opposing team can even get their hands on him, and really limiting a lot of the damage that he could be taking on. And I want to just applaud him for that, because he's been doing a really good job at that this season. I have a little neck brace type of thing that came with the bobblehead. I said I will remove it once he plays a good majority of the season. It's gonna come off soon. It's not gonna come off just yet. We gotta get a big win against an above 500 team before I can do that. Anyways, back to the keys to victory. I also want to see on the offensive side of the ball is a good rotation of the running backs. Last week was heavily Raheem Mostert. I think he had in terms of percentage, he had probably 90% of the carries for the Dolphins. I hope everything's good with HN and Savon Ahmed. But either way, I want to see those guys get the ball and move the ball fluently with whenever they get their chances. That's pretty much it for the keys to victory. You really don't want to let this defensive line, for the defense in general for the Jets, they have a pretty good, well-rounded defense, whether it's the defensive line, linebackers, and their secondary is pretty good as well. Last thing you want to do is allow turnovers to start piling up, because that's something that this defense can do to you. So that's another thing, is to protect the ball. So stop the run, get the ball to Waddle, allow the running backs to be in and out of the lineups to, kind of relieve some duties. And then last but not least, protect the ball. Protect the ball. That was a big issue last game, and luckily it didn't come back to bite the Dolphins in the butt. But that pretty much wraps up the keys to victory. Last but not least, let's talk about Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks was an awesome experience to watch. Seeing the behind the scenes preparation, something that we haven't really been able to get to see as fans through the Dolphins. You see all the fun stuff, you see all the little questions after their practices and stuff like who's the funniest player on the team, etc. But you don't really get to see what goes into the week of preparing for facing an opponent, regardless of who it is. I think it's really cool to see, and as far as the Dolphins go, is as long as the Hard Knocks will go. So let's hope the Dolphins can go very far so this content can continue coming out. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. People were saying like, "Oh, McDaniel was the star of the show." They talked about it to him in the media on Wednesday, and he was like, "It's not me, it's the team." So if the coach has that mentality, I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm all a little on the Hard Knocks. I'll be watching it every Tuesday night. So if you ever want to talk about it, just comment down below and say what was your favorite moment from the episode. I think one of mine was just them kind of doing like a little montage of the facility. Aside from that, when they had one of the guys running scout team as Max Crosby, that was probably a pretty funny moment. But aside from that, that wraps up the game preview for this Miami Dolphins versus New York Jets Black Friday game. Inaugural Black Friday game for the NFL. So should be an interesting one. I hope the Dolphins can, win by multiple possessions, but I'm not a fan of going with the Dolphin spread ever. They seem to always let people down with that. But aside from that, that pretty much wraps it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And let's go Dolphins, and happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Enjoy all the delicious food that may be coming your way. And celebrate with the ones you love. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll be going to see my family and then coming back, working, and then getting you guys a post-game video of the Miami Dolphins versus New York Jets. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.